And away we go.
Execution to perfection.
The All Blacks lay down the challenge.
Desperation dive.
Oh, Adi Samir!
We just start planning on Tuesday. It's just making sure that we, take the lessons out of that game and apply them to the next one. So it's really as simple as trusting our process and making sure that we treat each week as a special one.
What are the key focuses for you then for the next game? What do you want to see?
We have a pretty strong focus of working through, reviewing our game. So, like I said, nothing will change. We'll do that on Tuesday, Wednesday. Now that'll become the key things for Scotland.
But is there anything in particular you're looking for? Yesterday you mentioned things weren't perfect. So what are you wanting to see change or improve?
It was probably a bit early to ask me that question. So it's, I think there's obviously some things with some of our ball supply early wasn't as good as it needed to be. There'd be little things we pick up, but quite frankly, it's just a matter of not jumping to too many assumptions early in the week. Like, we actually like to go through and do a lot of analysis and have a look at what Scotland did yesterday and have a close look at what we did and then pick it up from there.
Yeah, I just wondered if there was anything off the bat.
I think I've answered that, yeah, thanks.
How are the bodies after that? Any niggles, injuries you've picked up?
No, we got through really well, which is pleasing. And so it was a bit different from last week. There was a bit of a hospital ward, but no, we came through that well. There are a couple of squad updates though. We've released Lester and Brad to go and play against the Barbarians at Twickenham. We're bringing TJ over to us to replace Brad. So there was a predetermined plan to give both those nines a couple of weeks with us, and after Folau's injury. So that's the main squad update.
Pleasing aspect last night would be the fact that there was nothing even remotely close to discipline problems. Is that something that you worked on during the week after what happened last week? And is it something that you feel like you kind of pass a test, or is that what you expect for every test?
I'm just going through all the questions there, Jamie. The answer is, we're pleased with the discipline last night. I guess discipline covers a range of things, doesn't it? Like in terms of our control around the contact area. I think we've been pretty good in that area for a while. We obviously picked up a card in Japan, but I mean that's that was a very close margin, that one. So, but overall pleased. There's some areas of the discipline that we weren't quite so good last night. I thought tackling, we got penalised 2 or 3 times for our tackler slow to get out, and that's frustrating. So we have to sort that out.
How do you manage an 8-day turnaround? Is it a trickier turnaround to manage this one?
Yeah, well, it's not tricky, but it's just different. Like, we're actually sort of deliberately giving ourselves a bit of breathing space today and tomorrow. And, we travel today, we go up to Edinburgh and have the day off. So hence, we're not sort of talking too much about what next week looks like until probably tomorrow night. But clearly it's a chance at this time of year. We've got to make sure we use it well, because the following week's a 6-day turnaround, so we've just got to balance that out.
Yeah, how much of a balancing act is that, knowing you've got that turnaround to come?
Yeah, no, it is, and it's, one thing you've got to be careful on 8-day turnarounds is playing the game too early. Hence my reluctance to talk a little bit about what the key focuses are for the week, because I think it's good to give the team breathing space for the next 48 hours and then get over the wind, then roll our sleeves up and get back to work on Tuesday and treat it like a normal week from then on.
And saying that, did you see any of Scotland and Fiji yesterday?
Yeah, I saw a little bit, saw a few highlights, but I'll be watching a bit of that today. But that historic. I mean, Fiji's a pretty tough physical team, but again, that's Scotland will be pleased with that. And I'll be disappointed with losing to Aussie with that, missing that last kick, but they've had a pretty good start to the autumn program.
You got Roger and Braden back in camp?
Yep.
What did you make of their performance for the All Blacks 15?
Yeah, pretty good. It was a different game to probably what we expected. We expected probably a lot tougher, more defence-orientated game up there, but it turned into quite an open game, and so we had to judge everyone's performances based on that. But, you know, it was good for them to get another hit out.
You mentioned last night you won 5 in a row, which is, you know, obviously pleasing. If you look at your best performances this year, though, at Ellis Park and Eden Park and Hamilton, they probably haven't been backed up by that same level of performance. How nice would it be to do that next week, and how do you go about doing that?
Well, we're always searching for that, you know, and it's and I think it's about not trying to copy and paste anything. It's about trying to just look at you know, the build up for each test is different conditions, different opposition, and different pressure points. And so, you know, the danger is when you try to copy and paste a formula. Like, we can't just use this week's formula for next week. We just got to make sure that we rebuild from zero on Tuesday and just go back and say, okay, well, what's this week about, and then just hoe into it and find the real meaning in the preparation. So that's our goal. And, you know, you don't always. Sometimes we judge great performances by scorelines, but also great performances can come just by solving problems on park, and that's what I think we're getting a little bit better at.
You mentioned you haven't been to, a lot of the players haven't been to Scotland for a long time. Is there anything you do to delve into what it means to play in Scotland, what it's like there, the history of Murrayfield, those sorts of things?
Yeah, a little bit of that. Wear an extra layer of clothing. There's little things you've got to do individually to prepare up there, but no, it's every ground and historical ground, you know, has a lot of history to it, and this team's enjoying catching up with a lot of its history and learning about that, particularly when you've got a lot of players who, you know, it's kind of new. The Northern Hemisphere is not sort of a regular for them as it used to be, so we're getting back into that pattern, but it's important that we embrace that historical side of it.
Your wings and centres only got about 1,000 touches between them yesterday. Is that are you expecting them to get more involved, or is that just the nature of the game, how involved it is?
Nature of the conditions last night. You know, it was very slippery. It's I think it would have been better conditions to play in if the roof was open, quite frankly. It wouldn't have been better for the spectators, but I think the condensation and the atmosphere just made it an extremely slippery game. So I'm actually I quite like that stat, to be fair, in that sort of game, because you actually want your. Sometimes we overplay in those conditions because we just want to play, and I kind of like the patience.
What was your assessment of Geordie at 12 last night?
Yeah, pretty good.
Can you elaborate on that a little?
Seems all I talk about is Geordie Barrett, but he played well again. He backed up a good performance at Eden Park with a solid one, but it was a different game. It was a game where, you know, I think he went in there because we felt it was going to suit a very physical 12, and he played that game really well.
You won't want to talk too much about specifics, but you mentioned in terms of selections and options, you know, with like Cody and Samasoni and developing that, and I guess Geordie and David at 12. Do you balance that with consistency of selection, which tends to help consistency of performance as well? I guess trying to develop options with developing combinations. What's that juggling act like?
It's a juggling act. It's just a juggling act. It's at what stage do you put all your eggs in one basket, and what stage do you build depth? And it's I guess that's the art of selection. But quite frankly, be it Geordie or be it Davey or be it maybe even Anton Lennon-Brown at 12, at the end of the day, it's quality players, and we expect them to do a job. And so whilst it's not about chopping and changing all the time, it is about building. And you know, I think we've done a lot of work on combinations this year, and adding a few other options up our sleeve is going to be good for us.
Yeah, I know you mentioned All Blacks 15 squad changes. Just to confirm, does that mean Braden and Roger are back to the All Blacks?
Yeah, they came back yesterday morning, so they've returned. They'll be with us now. So we're just utilising that program as a chance to, like I said at the time, we released them to get another game in the midfield. They now come back with us. And Leicester obviously missed the Japan game, so it's a chance for him to go and get some rugby this week. Then he'll come back and join us, and I've explained the nines.